Good morning. This is Tony Dattino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship and wanted to do a special Live with Tony Facebook broadcast talking about social interactions during the COVID-19 responses. And this has just become so important to us, as what we know from what our latest issue of Art Magazine is telling us. It is really important for people, especially in our senior groups, to maintain social interactions, to avoid being lonely or to feel that they're alone, or what we call social isolation. And so to that degree, this has become a really important thing to at least talk about. And I think I've got a few tips based on the things that my love and wife and I do on a regular basis. And one of them is on Saturday afternoon. We're fortunate enough to be in Florida where the weather is reasonably warm, and we can sit at 3 o'clock on an afternoon when the sun is best, during January, February, and sit in a driveway in a garage that's distanced apart with 6 or 7, sometimes 8 seniors sitting well apart in terms of our seating and distancing, but the conversations are what, to me, is most important. So having those conversations with one another, with a common group of people stressing and or handling the responses to COVID, are all really important. And I wanted to share this week's conversations because it just brings so many pieces together, and how a group of 8 people are helping to support one another during what can be some really challenging times and some really difficult periods that impact what we're doing. So let's talk about that quickly. We're obviously all seniors. We are in the Orlando area where they announced the COVID vaccines now a month ago. In fact, it's probably 5 weeks ago. And all of us got immediately on a phone call when we were watching our Orlando mayor, who I think did a really good job, which is Jerry Demings, which is, doesn't matter what party he is, he happens to be a Democrat. He has done a really excellent job in the rollout of our COVID vaccines and getting the Orlando Convention Center parking garage as a facility, and announcing the website. And yep, there's crashes and problems, but you know what? As you have a group of people that have all engaged in it, and we can share our lessons together, it builds a level of experiences and a database of knowledge that just helps all of us to deal with this craziness and stress in a much better way. So you have a common platform of people talking about the things that are important and the challenges and or struggles we're all having, but we're able to share that sitting in a garage and out in a driveway, distanced apart, with each of us talking about our own experiences and how we're improving and dealing with it. I'm fortunate enough to have warm weather to be able to be outside. So that's the important thing, it's sitting outside and spaced out well. We look at ducks and some birds on a pond, trees and shade if we want it during a warmer day, and location is important, and the social interaction is important, and we all look forward to that on a Saturday afternoon. And so during the winter time right now, we do it somewhere in the 3 to 5 o'clock time period, and then we leave at 5:15, and we go about our Saturday night evening dinners and the social TV or whatever we're doing back at our residences. But having that support group. So now let's talk about COVID vaccine. So we get the COVID vaccine, we all watch the mayor do his thing, and we all jump onto our laptops when they initially did the signing. And we all wanted to get that very first day when the seniors over 65 are going to be eligible to do that. And lucky as it be, 7 of us were able to get appointments. So 7 of the 8, and the other was okay because there was no urgency to get it. It was like, let me see how the rest of you are going to go at this, and I can learn from your lessons. So we had somebody that did not jump on and get it, but 7 of us did. Now, we had it for different days, but at least now 6 of us were able to get it on the very first day. And so now it becomes, how do you share your experiences? Because we all went and got the first dose, and of course, within a day, we were all talking to one another about, did any of us have side effects on dose one? So as we went about our first day, which was now it was the end of December, early part of January. I'm going to lose my days. It was the end of December, right before New Year's. All of us managed, other than the sore arms, all managed to do fairly well with the sore arms, no other side effects from dose one. But then as you started to hear about people going for dose two, you started to read and hear television, different people. I had some hospital contacts saying, but the second dose is a little bit more powerful, effective, wonderful. You need to go get it. They really increased the Moderna impact of the vaccine. But that second dose is a little bit more impactful. So now you just say, okay, we're going to all go for the second dose, and we all had appointments within a week's period of time. And so we're going for second dose. And each of us were eager and anxious to compare our notes on what was going to happen to each of us on the second dose. And so we got together again, and here we were yesterday comparing our notes after the second dose, which we got this week, and then we had one person that's going to get it next week, and so we're comparing notes. And we're learning some stuff, and I had some folks up in the Northeast talking to me about my impact and saying, got it, that was helpful. Now let me tell you what I'm going to do for my mother and my dad, and when they're going to go for their dose, second dose. So this is like, wow, this is all important information to not only deal with the stress that we all feel, because if you just keep watching the TV, wow, what a difference you get. So the short story is simple. 4 of the 6 of us, no big deal. Second dose, no impact other than sore arms. So the sore arm seems to be broader and more painful than the first dose. So sore arms, second dose, I probably got hit the worst. We had one mild headache, one evening of just a little bit of fatigue, but next day, bam. And so 4 out of the first 6 people that went through this, not a problem. One was a mild headache, and then I was the one of the 6, the unlucky one. I called it, I got the deluxe version of the second dose, and that was, I'll start with fatigue. Some people say 2 or 3 days. I've had actually 4 days of where I just have probably slept more than I have, which is why I didn't do a Wednesday broadcast this week. So I had more of the fatigue and still feel some of it. You may see it on my face a little bit. But I had the fatigue. The second thing I seem to have had that no one else had is I just lost my appetite, and I had the feeling of nausea. And I had that for 2 days, which was surprising. But the loss of appetite has existed until yesterday. So now my shot was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 4 days. I think I want to eat something this morning for breakfast, but boy, I've been on toast and rice and baked potatoes this week, and it's just been a tough go. And unfortunately, as you may see from my face, I've lost 5 pounds I wasn't trying to lose. I've met my nutritional goals as part of my brain health and my body health system, so I've met my weight goals. I'm at high school weight, and now I'm dropping below that. So I'm trying to put some weight back on now for the next week or so, and I'm not going to eat badly, but my nutrition. But I took the fatigue, I got the loss of appetite, I hit the fever. I had a fever for a day and a half. I had the feeling of vomiting where I thought I was going to have that as a challenge. I had the neck ache. My neck felt like I was in a vice, had the headache. So I had what I call the deluxe version of the side effects of COVID second dose. However, as I sit here this morning, obviously, I've got a little bit more energy back. This is a Sunday. I don't normally do anything on Facebook on Sundays. And I said, you know what? I wanted to pick up on our social activities that we had yesterday afternoon and talk about the value of having friends sitting around the garage and a driveway, distance apart, but sharing their experiences and what a difference it makes from 2 flavors. First, something from a COVID-19 aspect and what we were all learning and what reading or studying and the different impacts. And I'm going to share with you two things that I would recommend strongly and really make an impact. But that was number one. Number two was how the experiences then minimize the stress levels. So not only were we getting the social interaction, but just the venting of that, and then packing up at 5:15 and jumping in the car and then coming home. It just gave you something to do on a Saturday afternoon. Football season's gone, baseball's coming. I'm not big on the college basketball scene, so what do you do on Saturday afternoon? We'll go meet some of your friends and have a good conversation. But here's a couple of things that I've learned during this process. So talking to one of my scientist friends up in the Northeast, his mom is scheduled to go get her vaccine in another couple of weeks. And he's like, okay, so one thing I want to say is hydrate. So what you've told me, based on the antibody responses and the scientific response, is you want to hydrate, hydrate, and hydrate before you go for the vaccine, and then stay hydrated in that first day after it. The second thing he talked about was the importance of having a good, strong amount of proteins in your body, so that the proteins help minimize the inflammation response that you get from the vaccine, which is a good sign. So as he said to me, based on your side effects, my goodness, you would have a great response to the vaccine and helping you to protect against COVID. So I hadn't thought of it that way, but he's like, you've had every response you could have, and the inflammation in your body is really giving you that feedback. But protein before, during, and after would be important for somebody to have. The other tip that's been interesting, and it's one of those question marks that I would recommend to people, is I have read in my science reading not to take aspirins or Tylenols or things. And again, this is something I've read. We went and checked it online as I was going through the fever and the aches and whatever. And my other half went and checked, and it's one of those maybes, which is you may not want to take any of the other antiviral things or the things that minimize inflammation, because it may minimize the impact of the second dose of the vaccine. So I've gone through the week without doing any of the aspirins or Tylenols or now that's not medical information I'm recommending to anybody that goes through this. It was just my conservative approach to saying I went through the dose, I got the dose, I don't need to go risk minimizing the impact of it all, especially since I'm like, okay, I didn't think this was going to be a long-term deal, and certainly 4 days of it then left me with the last bit of advice for anybody. Going for a second dose, don't schedule any major activities work-wise, Zoom-wise, conferences, business activities, at least for the immediate day after and maybe 2 days after, and give yourself a little cushion. So maybe you want to, if you can, get your dose on a Thursday, Friday, and this way you have a weekend to recover. So those would be some of the simple things that I've learned during this past week, but I feel better about it now, and now I'm reading and studying and watching about how many days does the second dose have before it impacts your immunity and helps you to ward off any negative side effects. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I wanted to share those lessons with my Live with Tony audience. It's all part of our 6 wheels or 6 spokes of our brain health series, and this to me is a really important part of it, because COVID has really restricted our social interactions. It's really caused a lot of stress that's going along with it. It's made us hungry for information, and we know our brain craves information and knowledge, especially when it's impacting our well-being and our health. And so when you package all of this together, and the wonderful group of people that I have the pleasure of interacting with every Saturday afternoon, and the knowledge and the transfer and the minimizing of stress. And so even with that, you can laugh at yourself. You can share stories with people that are having some of the similar experiences and some of the similar feelings. And it's probably like, well, I can't think of the name of it, these therapy sessions that you have people who are getting together in a group therapeutic way that are sharing experiences and sharing their feelings in a way that is not judgmental, very supportive to one another. And so even to the point where I was sharing with one of our dear friends the problems I was having with my laptop. And if any of you have been following Live with Tony, you know, Don, my laptop is, the Facebook is working on it. And he said, why don't you get me your laptop tonight and let me take it over? And so at 5:15, he was taking, I had to go get my laptop and give it to him, and off he was and fixed it. And I'm doing my broadcast here. I wanted to see how his fixes worked, and it's working. And so here I am giving out advice on COVID and stress and social interactions, all part of the Maximum Memory Mastery online course, the Maximum Memory Mastery online education that we're giving to people, especially with those elements that impact brain health. So it is Sunday morning. Have a delightful day. I hope if you're in the Northeast, you're carefully attending to your safety and your well-being. The snowstorms and what's happening in the nor'easter up there, you're being safe, you're not shoveling too much snow. Find some teenagers or a plow that can help you do that, and just be safe, because we are all working at getting to the other side of the current epidemic of our COVID-19 response, and only who knows where the end of this is. It doesn't look like it's going to be in the next quarter, that's for sure. So we've all got to hunker down, support one another, and continue to do the things that we know are going to keep our brains and bodies functioning well, and using this as an opportunity to expand our knowledge and learnings and do things that keep us safe and healthy. So to that, everyone have a good Sunday, and if all goes well, I'll be back tomorrow late in the day in the 5 o'clock hour.